I'm here to talk about Tony's, and I don't like titles. I hate the fact of actually being called the boss. So my title is Chief Chocolate Officer, and it will make people smile. If I'm on the kindergarten playground and picking up bento and teas from school, then other kids are coming up to me and saying, "Are you the boss of chocolate?" Small kids like that. Women like that too. Guys don't understand that. But I'm not the boss. I want to be the fundament. I want to be the fundament on which people can flourish, on which people can willing to take more risk than anywhere else. And they can make mistakes, because I think if you make a mistake, you learn. And if you learn, then you're going to give the company everything that you have. So I want to stretch people to the boundaries of their abilities. And yes, it's okay to make a mistake once. If you make the same mistake twice, then you have to start looking for a new job. So it is all about raising people in their skills and their possibilities, what they can do. And I like it that I'm the fundament Chief Chocolate Officer instead of being the boss. Since there are a lot of guys in the room, I will tell you how girls shop. If girls go to a supermarket, then they buy everything that's on their list. And they get their cleaning, their food, and their personal home care materials. And then finally, the whole list is checked and everything is bought. Then they get to the cashier. And just before they go to the cashier, they look at chocolate. Just before the cashier, there's chocolate. So they're gonna park their chart, walk back, make a quick choice, go back, put it on top of all the other groceries. And then you have to put your grocery shopping on the conveyor belt to the cashier, right? And just before the conveyor belt, there's this little chocolate shelf. Girls know that. So they're gonna put the chocolate on the chocolate shelf, and all groceries go on the conveyor belt. And eggs are okay to be on the chocolate shelf as well. And then they close off with chocolate and with the eggs. And then by the time they pay, they leave, chocolate is on top of the groceries in the bag. And whether you're walking, biking, or by car, 2 stoplights. And then you look at your groceries and you think, what the heck? 1 bite. So you open up, golden wrapper, and you take 1 bite of chocolate. And good chocolate, my mouth is already watering. Good chocolate has this shine and has a really crisp snap. So let's see whether this works. You open your mouth, little piece of chocolate goes inside, starts melting on your tongue. And I do have a girlfriend who's very capable of giving a good French kiss, but actually chocolate is competing with hers. And that's what chocolate is all about, right? It's that present that you receive or you want to give to somebody else. That's what chocolate is, and it makes you happy. Yeah. And if you look at chocolate, it's been made of cocoa. And cocoa is one of the main ingredients of chocolate. Apart from cocoa, there's milk powder and there's sugar inside, but actually, cocoa is the main ingredient. And cocoa grows around the equator. So it grows in Middle America, in Southeast Asia, but the main of the crop, 70%, comes from Western Africa, those countries. So it's Ghana, Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon. Those countries in Western Africa produce around 70% of the annual production of cocoa. And that's being sold by 2 million farmers to, let's say, 8, I'm not sure whether they're here, maybe 9 if we consider ourselves a big company, but 8 companies that buy it. You have 3 business-to-business suppliers of couverture, and couverture is actually a women's dream. It's a truckload, 40,000 liters of liquid chocolate. You can actually swim in what they sell. And it's ADM, or Cargill, Barry Callebaut, and Ecom. 3 companies who are huge, but they don't have any consumer facing. And on the other hand, you have brands like Mars, Nestlé, Mondelez, which is the mother company of Milka and Côte d'Or, Hershey, and Mai, 5 huge consumer packaging companies. And of course, Tony's. Those 8 or 9 companies, they consume more than 100% of the annual production of cocoa. And it's not completely fair to actually add up these with these, but roughly you can say that all cocoa beans being worldwide produced goes through the hands of one of those 8 companies. Those companies are in the middle. And then it's you and me on the left side, right side of the screen, consuming chocolate every day. And let's make an agreement. If you don't consume chocolate every day, please start with it from today. The first bar is in the back, and tomorrow the task is up to you, you have to buy one. Because chocolate is a gift. It's a gift for yourself or for somebody else, but actually we have to enjoy that. So what you see is an hourglass, right? You have, on one hand, you have millions of farmers, 8 big companies, and then you have billions of consumers. And that hourglass is actually being controlled by the middle. So the industry is in control of what's going on in the value chain of chocolate, of cocoa. And the farmer receives only 12 cents for the cocoa content inside of a milk chocolate bar like this, which is being sold for €2.50 or €2.65 even in Dutch stores. And if you realize that there's so little money going to the beginning of the value chain, the farmer, then you know that there's price pressure on the value chain. How does that work? Normally, we sell chocolate to the supermarket, and the supermarket says, yeah, we want more at a lower price. That's always the case. So you start negotiating with the supermarket. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And the things that you've lost in that conversation, you turn around and you go to the manufacturer and say, well, okay, we want you to provide us with chocolate a little bit cheaper. That's what normal companies do, because they have an aim on gross margin. And that aim at gross margin has to stay up. And then that manufacturer turns to the other manufacturer, and the other manufacturer turns to the provider of cocoa beans, and the provider of cocoa beans turns to the farmer, and the farmer turns to the tree. And the only one in the chain who's not giving in is the tree. You cannot negotiate with the tree. So to say it nicely, if there's price pressure in any value chain, then the farmer is fucked. Because at the beginning of the value chain, you don't have anybody to turn to. That's why they end up with only 12 cents. We pay 25% more to the farmer. That's what Tony's does. It's not something to be proud of, but it makes that you get a good product, good quality cocoa bean, and you provide him with the money that he needs to be actually at level that he can send his own kids to school. And the only reason why we do that is that you want to be proud of the product that you sell. Because if you cannot be proud of the product that you sell, then marketing is baloney. And if you market a product that you're really proud of to sell, then you can really market it. But you have to be sure that your pride is in the product that you sell. And for that reason, we have to pay more to the cocoa farmer to eradicate all forms of modern slavery from the value chain of cocoa. Today, more than 35 million people are working in enslaved circumstances. Not only in cocoa. That's in apparel, that's in cotton, that's in tobacco, it's in fishery, it's in mining, it's in sex. If you add those numbers up, then more numbers today are working in, more people working in enslaved circumstances today than ever before in time. And then we talk about Black Pete, Zwarte Piet. I think we have other issues than Zwarte Piet to solve, right? We have to be sure that we can be proud of the cigarettes that we smoke, the jeans that we wear, the chocolate that we eat every day. And for that, we want to eradicate modern slavery. And modern slavery is just a law. But if you want to change, and we marketeers know that change doesn't come from the brain, it comes from the gut. You have to have a feeling in the gut that something has to change. And if you hit somebody in the gut, then they will change. If you hit somebody in the head, then they will pass out. So it's not here, it's here. Change is here, in the belly. And the definition talks to the brain. And therefore I brought a little film.
Je m'appelle Kam Touré, 18 ans.
What you see here is the fact that the kids are real. It's not some kind of a marketing trick that we're talking about. Sorry for the fact that the film was in French and subtitled in Dutch. But what he was saying is that kids were forced to work on a plantation. They were not able to leave the plantation. They were not able to talk to friends or relatives. Those kids were sold, 11 years of age, and you can buy a child from 200 to 300 euros. And then they are your property, like a tool. And that's not something that happened 100 years ago. This happened 5 years ago with these kids. And Kamko Herman, he came to Holland and actually testified in court. But if you see that the guys are not stupid, they're not capable of writing. So they miss all basic skills. They don't have relatives, because that's one of the reasons that you get sold and shipped to a certain area where you can work on a cocoa field. Trafficked kids. And if you have seen that, and then you imagine me going back to Amstelveen, to Bent and Ties, to the playground to pick up the kids, and then another kid is coming up to me and saying, "Are you the boss of chocolate?" Then you realize, in the gut, that something has to change, right? In the year 2001, Senator Harkin and Senator Engel came together in the US State Senate and they draw up the Harkin-Engel Protocol. The Harkin-Engel Protocol is quite straightforward protocol, but says within 10 years, starting in the year 2001, all big players in the industry of chocolate have to take their responsibility serious, and the management team of those companies, on personal note and on behalf of the company they work for, have to eradicate all worst forms of child labor, because that's how we call it, worst form of child labor. We call it slavery, but it's the same thing. Have to be eradicated from the value chain of cocoa. They all signed. It's a pretty straightforward document, 5 pages of text and 5 pages of signatures of all the big players in the cocoa industry. By the year 2004, Teun van der Keuken, the journalist of the Keuringsdienst van Waarde, which is a TV program still running, it's more or less the CIA of food, what's going on in food and what is the story that marketeers want us to believe. Most marketeers are not happy when Teun is showing up. And since not everybody has seen one of the episodes, so I think there will be somebody who doesn't know, and I like telling the story, I'm going to tell you the story of vanilla yogurt. If you go to a store and you buy vanilla yogurt, then you think you buy something in a pack, it's yogurt, sugar and vanilla. That's what you think vanilla yogurt is, right? That is the case if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, then you're actually buying yogurt, sugar and vanillin. And vanillin is almost the same as vanilla. It tastes almost the same, you write it almost the same, but it comes from the Christmas tree, if you're lucky. And if you're not lucky, then vanillin comes from the balls, testicles of a beaver. So in Greenland, you find beavers, you hunt them, you kill them, you dry them, and you grind the testicles, and it tastes exactly like vanilla. And in Holland, it's okay to sell grinded testicles of a beaver in yogurt as vanilla. And you can sell it as vanilla yogurt. So if you buy the cheapest version of vanilla yogurt, I would consider trying and learning yourself to eat sour yogurt instead of that. Or actually spend a little bit more that you're sure that there's no grinded beaver balls inside. That's what the Keuringsdienstvoorwaarden does. They dive into a story that marketeers want us to believe. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's mind-blowing. In the case of cocoa, in the year 2004, nobody wanted to talk to Teun. Teun went to Barry Callebaut, and Barry Callebaut is the biggest supplier of business-to-business couverture, and couverture is the liquid form of chocolate. And the head office is in Wieze. That's right in the middle of Antwerp and Brussels. And nobody wanted to talk to him, because Teun van de Keuken means trouble. And then he thought, after wait for something like 7 hours, he drove up to Vevey. And Vevey is this beautiful town at the end of Lake Geneva, with the mountains ending up, and then the headquarters of Nestlé is right in the middle of that. And there was a spokesperson coming out. Hey, Mr. from the kitchen, how are you? You want coffee? And he thought, that's a surprise. People know who I am. How do you know who I am? Yeah, we got a phone call from Barry Callebaut. So the competitor called you? Why? Yeah, they told us that you were coming and we're not going to talk to you. And he said, if competition starts calling to keep the journalist out, then something is really going on, right? So he went back to Holland without anything on tape. And he had the feeling, well, how am I going to address this issue in a TV show, on TV, without anybody wanting to say what's going on? So then he found a parallel. Most of you know that you can buy a bike in a Vondelpark, right? It's out of the hands of a junkie. And the chance that that junkie is BOVAG certified bike mechanic is rather limited, I would say, right? So if you buy that bike, then you're committing a criminal act. It's called fencing, of heling, zoals we het in Nederland zeggen. If you fence your bike, knowing that this bike is probably be stolen, it's a lot cheaper, then you're committing a criminal act. If you go to Albert Heijn and you are aware of the fact that there's slavery going on in the value chain of cocoa today, and you're buying a bar, you're committing a criminal act. Teun realized that and he called 911. Actually, the number in Holland is 112, but for the story, it doesn't matter. But if you have trouble, don't try 911, 112. So he called, and this nice lady picked up the phone, and she said, what's going on? And he said, well, I'm a chocolate criminal. Why? Well, I've eaten 10 bars. And she said, yeah, it happens to me once a month. And he said, no, I don't have that. I have a different problem. I'm aware of the fact that there's slavery going on in the value chain of cocoa. I still ate 10 different bars. You have to come and pick me up because I'm a chocolate criminal. I fenced chocolate. And by the way, everything that you say is going to be on TV because we're running a TV show called the Keuringsdienstvoorwaarden. She didn't say anything anymore. Sent 2 coppers. He was picked up, going to jail. Then he went to court. And in appeal, the judge wanted to look at it. Kamko Herman, who you just saw in the film, came to Holland to testify against Teun. And a long story short, Teun was sent off free due to the fact that the judge found it not likely that the cocoa being picked by Kamko Herman ended up in the bar that Teun ate. There's no causality between eating the chocolate and picking it with slave labor. But the judge said, yes, there is slavery going on. And I cannot send everybody to jail, so I send you off free. Teun ran mad, and he had the feeling something is absolutely wrong in the value chain of cocoa. Something has to be done. And he turned himself and he went to the Chamber of Commerce here in Amsterdam, and he launched a company called Tony's Chocolonely. Because it's the lonely battle against the chocolate industry to change it from the inside out for the better. And it has to be an international movement, and Teun was too Dutch a name, so he turned his name into Tony's. Tony's Chocolonely. I bought that company 5 years ago. And I went to Africa, and then I realized that this is bigger than just a marketing truc and selling chocolate over doing something good. This really has a purpose. Who knows Anita Roddick? Yeah. Well, Anita Roddick is the founder of The Body Shop, and she's my huge example. I think she has died far and far too young. But what she has done as a business activist to start The Body Shop to change cosmetics is absolutely something that I think that is the level that you want to work for, right? A company with a purpose like that goes under the skin, and you're not working for money, you're working for a real thing that really matters. You're working for a real purpose. And when I saw kids, and I translated that back to the playground in Amstelveen where I pick up my own kids, then I realized, holy shit, what have I bought? If you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. And for the guys, you don't actually have to sleep with the mosquito. It's in the same room. But it's a different night, right? You wake up, start looking for the bastard, don't find it, look around, and all of a sudden you see it, you hit, don't see it anymore, probably dead. You go back to bed to sleep, stings you another 7 times, and then your wife wakes up. All lights go on, you start looking together, both eyes are open now, and after the animal stung you 5 or 6 or 7 times, you'll find it, you hit it, and all sleeping rooms, how do you call it, bedrooms, have white wallpaper. And you create a beautiful piece of art of the blood of your own on that wall. And then you go back to bed. It's a different night, right? We're this little mosquito. And we're the little mosquito who's zooming and stinging at times that the big companies want us to shut up. And we have to be creative, not to be hit over the head too quickly. We're crazy about chocolate and serious about people. We're not completely wappy, and we know what we're doing. We're making the best tasting chocolate in the world. At least that's what we try. And you have a beautiful collection of 2 or 1, but we have more. And we just came out with chocolate with cola. It's nice, I can tell you. It's for sale in the store. So we're passionate to make the nicest and the best tasting chocolate. But we're serious when it comes down to people. And it's a bit schizophrenic, right? Being crazy and serious at the same time. But we're serious about 5 kinds of people. Firstly, our own team. If you have the best team, and I slip through, but if you have really good people working for you, then it's possible to actually win the commercial race that we're all in. Secondly, the farmer. If you have a long-term relationship with the farmer and you take the cocoa traceable in your product and you pay the farmer 25% more, then you can be proud of the product relationship that you have with the farmer. And it enables the farmer to live a slave-free life. And I think that's really important. That's the main thing while we're doing this. And still we're going to put the people first. Because if you have the right people and you have a purpose, then there's no way you're going to not win the battle. Thirdly, the consumer. The consumer gets it. The consumer absolutely gets what you're talking about. But you don't have to talk baloney. We don't do any above-the-line marketing. We invite consumers over. Because let me tell you one thing. Consumers are just like normal people. Nothing to be scared about. So we invite them in the office. We do have a shop. And once you stepped in, you're not able to leave the office without having a tour and taking a bar. And I can tell you, the postman, he hates it. He gets a bar every day. He said, how in heaven's sake am I going to keep slim? So he's ringing the bell and handing over the post without stepping over the drempel to step inside of the office. What is important is that you're real. And I think marketing is actually like coming on to a girl in a bar. It's the same thing. If you have a fake baloney story, then she's gonna run off. If you have a real story, then she might be interested. Fourth place is the customer. Customers like Albert Heijn, the postcode lottery, but also the Wereldwinkels, which is the fair trade shops. And with them we sell chocolate. And fifth place is the supplier. Can be the marketing agency, can be the supplier of chocolate. But we're serious about all 5 kinds of people. And if you're serious about your own value chain, then you cannot end up with a bar like that. All competition do have marketeers, and the best they can come up with is a bar like this. And if the marketeers really have the best day in the year, they're going to put their own name on each and every piece of chocolate. Like we're complete idiots, we consumers. Who has their own name on the front door of their house? No one? Yeah, some people do. Who has on every door in the house their own name? No one. So why does it make sense for a marketeer to put your own logo on each and every piece? Doesn't. So what we've done, we've created a bar that's unequally shared, because the story is that we make chocolate out of unequally shared sources. The world is unequally shared, so the bar is unequally shared. Product intrinsic, if Tony's is naked on your table, then the story is there. And yes, we took the biggest piece, but only once. And if you look at the chocolate bar, then you see that the bottom of the bar is the equator. Then on the left side of the bar is Ivory Coast. Next to that is Ghana, next to that is Togo Benin, next to that is Nigeria, and next to that is Cameroon. So Western Africa is on the bar. So you've probably eaten Ghana or Ivory Coast already. And since we're not that good in topography, no one actually said that nor Togo nor Benin is a separate country. And it is. The middle piece actually consists of 2 countries, Togo and Benin. So we had a discussion in the office, and the discussion was about what is more important, a whole hazelnut in milk chocolate, which I like, or being correct around the boundaries of the countries. And nor in Togo nor in Benin fitted a whole hazelnut. The hazelnut won. And like a Napoleon, we merged those 2 countries together. And we said, never ever going to tell the people in Togo or Benin. But it's real. You want to bring the purpose to life, right? So the green one is to blame for the fact that we merged those 2 countries. If you look at what marketing is, then you can only work on things that people know. And if people are not aware of the fact that there's slavery going on in the value chain of cocoa today, then you have to tell that story. Secondly, I think that a business has an opportunity and a responsibility to change the world, to make the world a nicer place. Because if you work for money, then you don't have a purpose. And if you work for a purpose, then the mean money, het betaalmiddelgeld, is important. Because without money, you're not going to end up to your purpose. But it is a mean, nothing more than a mean. So most public companies are being traded and being checked on the mean money. And if the goal of a company is a mean, then they're mixed up. And if the management of a company doesn't know left from right, then it's easy to win from them. So we want to set an example from bean to bar that it is possible to be the fastest growing chocolate company to make impact and to actually show the people that they can do the same. Because we're not going to change chocolate by ourselves. We need competition to actually do that. And the third is act to inspire. We don't want to be this Zodiac boat bumping into the oil tanker of multinational chocolatiers. No, we want to be the loads, so it's a guiding boat in the harbor that actually shows the big guys what is the right route to take. And how do you end up making your company a company that really works for a purpose? And by the time that works, then the number of people working in enslaved circumstances will be eradicated from cocoa. Today, 460,000 people are working illegally in cocoa. 460,000 people. That's the same amount as all people being part of the city of Utrecht. Imagine that the whole city of Utrecht, the quantity of people are working illegally in cocoa today. And just for us to receive that French kiss of food. I think something has to be changed, and there's an obligation for a company, and it's an obligation that we take very seriously, and we want to move the others, we want to be the mosquito to change the other companies, so that together all these people can live a normal life. Thank you.